Morning to you viewers. I'm here again with you. This is the State of the Nation program sponsored by the foundation. That's the Burnham Foundation. Today we had hoped to have the a representative to continue the discussion we had the last time on Burnham and religion. But unfortunately, our guest was unable to get a flight in time to be in Guyana to be with us today on this program. However, be that as it may, the foundation always have enough information and lots of information for you, the viewing public. And today we're going to be focusing on, since it's approaching our Republican status time, that is the Mashramani period, I want to focus on two aspects. That is independence that we gained on the 26th of May, 1966, and Republican status that we gained on the 20th of February, 1970. With me in the studio today is the chairman of the foundation, Mr. Vincent Alexander. And you know, when coming around to Mashramani time, you always have to remember Lyndon Forbes, Samson Burnham. So I want to ask Vincent to, first of all, just tell us, what is it, we got independence in 66, and then in 1970 we got Republican status. Could you, for viewers, just outline to me those two different achievements of Guyana?
Thank you very much, and good morning to our viewers. Yes, indeed, in 1966, Guyana got independence. And so there are those who ask the question, what is it about Republican status which we got in 1970? Now, when we got independence, we retained a relationship with Britain. For all intents and purposes, the Queen was still the head of state. She was represented by the governor here in Guyana. And under the British system, sovereignty wasn't known to reside in the people. Sovereignty resided in the Queen. Now, in 1970, we became a republic. In fact, when we gained independence, one of the conditions was that sometime into the future, we would in fact become a republic. What does it mean to become a republic? Become a republic means that we are going to transfer sovereignty from the Queen, sever our relationship with the British in terms of sovereignty and any arrangements of state, and to have sovereignty vest in the people, and through the representative of the people to have that sovereignty exercised. So in a sense, really, to become a republic is in a sense to have the independence which we gain mature to another level, where we no longer have a relationship with the previous colonizers and a representative of the colonizers still present and having a say in the affairs of our country. And it's important that we understand this difference, and this difference was demonstrated in some things that happened in other countries in the Caribbean. Let's take, for example, what happened in Grenada. Grenada was also independent, but had not graduated to the status of a republic. And in Grenada, the Queen had a representative in the person of the Governor General. Now, when they had their internal problems, it was that Governor General who called upon external forces to intervene in the affairs of Grenada and gave legitimacy to that intervention by virtue of being the governor and the Queen's representative and having constitutional status in relation to the affairs of Grenada. I'm saying this so you can understand that if we did not become independent, then there would still be points of entry for the old colonizers to be involved in the internal affairs of our country through the office of the Governor General. And so independence meant that we really...
You mean Republican status?
Republican status really meant that we moved to another point where no longer could there be legitimate external intervention solicited by an internal official in the person of the Governor General. It means now that we are totally in charge of our own affairs. We have achieved total sovereignty because we now have ultimate authority over what happens in our country, and no one else from outside, through some legitimate internal link, can now intervene in the affairs of our country. Republican status also means that, in fact, the people are the sovereign. And so, in 1970, that is what we sought to do, to make the people the sovereign and to make the political directorate the representatives of the people and exercising sovereignty on behalf of the people, not on their own behalf. And I think it's very important for us to understand this, that the political directorate in this country, by virtue of us being a republic, exercises sovereignty on our behalf. Not because the political directorate is elected, that they are gods unto themselves. They are elected to exercise sovereignty on behalf of the people. And in the exercise of that sovereignty, they are supposed to be responsible to the people, responsive to the people as well, insofar as they're elected. So it's a very important status that we achieved when we became a republic.
The graduation from independence in 1966 to Republican status necessitated, like you rightly pointed out, changes in a number of areas in terms of the way the state operated. What are some of the, what is it that happened to enhance this Republican status that the country achieved in 1960?
Well, as I said, in the first instance, when we became a republic, we then moved away from a governor general to a president. Our first president was Mr. Arthur Chung, and that president was elected by the National Assembly. And in our first instance, the president was in a sense titular, not having much authority and executive power, but there were certain specific things the Constitution specified that the president had to do. So we moved away from a governor general, and we moved to having our president elected by the parliament, and in a sense to have our sovereignty vested in the parliament on behalf of the people. But we didn't stay there, because remember, to a large extent, in 1970 when we became a republic, we retained much of the Constitution under which we acquired independence. And so we saw beyond 1970 further constitutional changes that sought to entrench our republican status and sought to entrench the sovereignty of the people. If we look at the Ghana Constitution today, which has retained much of what was there in 1980, for example, there is talk about local democracy.
Yes.
And local democratic organs. The first point we need to observe is that unlike the other countries in the Caribbean, English-speaking countries, Ghana was the first country to enshrine in its constitution local government and local democracy. Local government and local democracy is no longer an option of the government to have it or not to have it. It is something enshrined in our Constitution. And by enshrining our Constitution, local government, what we sought to do is to involve the people as a matter of right in the exercise of sovereignty by transferring certain powers to them at the level of execution through the local democratic organs. So that there were some fundamental changes that came about in 1980, which may be seen as an attempt to enhance our democracy, an attempt to enhance our republican status by virtue of the establishment of organs that would on one hand allow the people to exercise sovereignty, organs that provided for a higher level of participation. Today, everyone makes reference, I think, to Article 13 of our Constitution, which requires that we have a kind of consultative involvement of the people in the decision making. An article which was in fact used by the court some years ago when Justice Messiah, the then Chancellor, ruled in favor of the compulsory involvement of the trade unions in certain things at that time. So that what we're talking about now is an enhancement of our Republican status, entrenchment of that status by virtue of constitutional provisions that provided for certain things which guaranteed the people's involvement and guaranteed the people's rights. We retained some other things that were in the 1970 Constitution, like for example, we retained the office of the Ombudsman that was supposed to protect the people against maladministration. We retained the office of the Appellant Tribunal for the Public Service that was supposed to give the public servants some opportunity to be able to appeal any injustices meted out against them by the administration. We retained those things, but we built upon that some other things, and as I said, one of the main things we built upon that was the office, the local democratic system, local democracy being enshrined in our Constitution, which is not something that one finds in the Commonwealth. Guyana was the first English-speaking Caribbean country to enshrine local government in the Constitution, hence enhancing people's involvement in governance.
So you're saying that having attained the Republican status in 1970, those provisions that form the Constitution of the 80, those that you have outlined that have been retained from the Constitution that we had in 1970, can be viewed as an enhancement on our constitutional provision for the people?
Well, what I'm saying is this, that there were some provisions in 1970 under the Independence Constitution, which were a reflection of the attainment of independence, and those were retained. And as I referred to some of them, in terms of the Ombudsman, which in fact we agreed we would have when we had independent stocks, the Public Service Appellate Tribunal, and things like those. In the Independence Constitution, we also had enshrined some other things like some commissions, the Public Service Commission for the purpose of control of the public service. The Police Service Commission was also enshrined in that Constitution. Now those things we retained, but we went to the 1980 Constitution, which built upon that. I think in the 1980 Constitution, what we found were some guiding principles that would guide the way in which the state would be organized, the way in which the affairs of the country would be run. We also had enshrined the rights provisions, which saw the people having rights that were not previously enshrined in our Constitution. The right to work, freedom, the right to education, provisions on the question of protection of conscience. So there were a number of rights enshrined in the 1980 Constitution that sought to really enhance our Republican status and to really give people much more involvement and to protect the sovereignty of the people. Because, as I said, Republican status really is the sovereignty of the people. And by sovereignty of the people, we mean that the people are ultimately the ones who control the destiny of their country, who control the affairs of their country. Of course, they can be involved in the day-to-day basis of making decisions. It's not practical for that to happen. And so because of that, we have a democracy which may be referred to as a representative democracy, with an electoral process that provides for elections and for people to be elected to represent and exercise sovereignty on behalf of the people at large. But in the main, sovereignty is really now vested in the people, because that is what Republican status really means. It's not a status that originated here. It's something that originated long before now. But one can look at the French Revolution and how they themselves became a republic. One can look at the American situation and how America itself became a republic and understand that Republican status really means that sovereignty should reside with the people.
When this time of the year comes, each year, around this time, you hear a lot of talk about Guyana attaining Republican status, and linked to that is a celebration describing Guyana as Mashamani, which is, the word means celebration after hard work, I think that's what it means. How do you link Republican status to this celebration?
Well, Guyana is a multi-ethnic society, and you have different ethnic groups who arrived at different times. The original group which was here is in fact the indigenous people, as we refer to them as the Amerindians. Having attained Republican status, in fact having attained independent status, we have seen an attempt to use the traditions of these people, the cultural practices of these people, to give some meaning to our independence and to our Republican status, to show that there are things that are indigenous to us that are symbols of our nationhood. One such thing, in fact, is Mashramani. There are two aspects to Mashramani. Mashramani itself is an Amerindian word which means celebration after the harvest. And so for us, Republican status means a time of achievement, achievement which we worked hard for. And so it becomes possible to use Mashramani as the word to mark this celebration, because it represents what Mashramani means, achievement after hard work to become independent, hard work to become Republican. And every year is hard work and becomes at this time when we celebrate our hard work. So the word Mashramani has been used to symbolize the celebration of the Guyanese people every year after hard work as we celebrate the attainment of Republican status. But we should also bear in mind that from a contextual standpoint, Mashramani has its origin in Linden, where the people of Linden had introduced this idea of Mashramani as a form of celebration, and it is the Linden idea was then adopted nationally. So in a sense, you have two elements to it. You have the element of the Amerindian word being used, and you have the element of the people have gathered themselves
embracing this
concept at the local level of Linden, and then that idea giving birth to the national idea. So you see a nation that things can sometimes be bottom up. Mashramani being itself bottom up, from the people, the Amerindian people in terms of their celebration after work, and from the people of Linden in terms of them conceptualizing this idea as one that could be used for Republican celebrations.
I want to, on this program we always invite or involve members of the public, viewers. You're free to call in on this program to express your views as well. There are other aspects on today's program which we'll be dealing with, and that will be in relation to the observance of the 90th birth anniversary. You know, this year, if Lyndon Forbes Sampson Burnham was alive, he would have been 90 years. And we have outlined and have planned at the level of the foundation a number of activities which we will talk about at a later stage. But I take this pause to tell you that you can become involved in this program. We're looking at independence, Mashramani, and Republican status. So if you're that touched, or if you have your views, you have comments, questions to ask on that aspect of our progress or achievement, you can call into this program and express your views. Vincent, I want you to, in your view, do you think, because what you have just outlined, I do not think the average young person there in the school understand these concepts or the reasons that you have advanced us and how the country has progressed from independence to the level of Republican status and what those things mean. I have had some conversations with young people in schools, high schools, primary schools, and you find that they're at a loss to understand these things. All they understand when this time comes around is the celebration of Mashramani, of gyration, and so on the road. Do you think that enough is being done in relation to educating our young people in relation to these things and the reflection of those floats and other activities? Do they kind of reflect this progress and achievement?
I would say, Clayton, that indeed the focus becomes the physical activities of festivity, and probably we're not doing enough of the educative work to let people understand what matrimony means, and that matrimony, in fact, Republican status is in fact a building block of nationhood for the Guyanese people. The whole question of self-recognition, of self-respect, the whole question of being a people in the community of countries across the globe. So I think indeed there is much more need for much more education on this question, much more information being fed into the schools. That it's not just about this activity we have called matrimony, where you go there and you have a nice time, but that we're having this activity in recognition to some fundamental things that have happened in the life of the nation. In fact, you know, Clayton, it is important that we also make the point that much of what we're talking about has to be attributed to the leadership of Lyndon Fobbs, Sampson Burnham. We are the Burnham Foundation. And we have to give recognition and to bring the nation on board in recognizing that much of this movement we're talking about, from a colony to an independent state or republic, has to do with the leadership of Lyndon Fobbs Sampson Burnham, with the vision that he had for this country. And that too people need to know and to understand, the fact that we can be making our own decisions, the fact that we can be talking about ensuring local government elections are held, has to do with the vision of Lyndon Fobbs Sampson Burnham, who brought our country to independence, who brought our country to Republican status, who brought our country to enhanced status in 1980, when we moved away from a titular president to an executive president. The fact that we have a Ramatar today and a Jagdeo yesterday and a Hoyt day before yesterday exercising executive power in this country has to be attributed to the contribution of Lyndon Fobbs Sampson Burnham, who endeavored to ensure that we could move from one stage to another along the continuum of independence. And it's along that stage, that continuum, that's in fact brought us to where we are. And we have to attribute to him what he did to make it possible. And we have to deal with some myths as well. You know, when we talked the last time about religion and Burnham, we made the point that there were myths about the schools being nationalized, that some people saw it as Burnham attempting to impose on religious organizations and things like that, and not recognizing that when the schools were nationalized, that it provided opportunities for people to get jobs and things like that for the very first time, people to have freedom of conscience and not have religions imposed upon them for economic circumstances. And so we dealt with those myths. But even with matrimony and Republican status, there are some myths. There are those who would like to say that, well, the 22nd of February is, 23rd of February is the day we chose because it's in proximity to Burnham's birthday. And that's another myth we have to dispel. Much of the February celebrations is associated with a historical moment. The 1763 slave rebellion
was in February.
Was in February. The historical information at the time said it was in February. And it was because of a linkage between the commencement of the struggle for freedom in 1763 and a culmination of that struggle in the form of the Republican status. That February was chosen. It had nothing to do with Burnham's birthday.
Burnham was born the 20th of February.
He's the 20th of February. I don't know if it's the divine intervention that caused him to be born in February and for us to become a republic and for the slave rebellions that have taken place according to the records which were available in February. So we have to dispel of that myth to where people try to say that, you know, Burnham was this dictator and therefore he wanted Republican status to be in accord with his birthday. Nothing of the sort. He was born in February, that is true, but the Republican status was linked to our history, the 1763 slave rebellion, which was seen as an attempt at that time for us to attain freedom as a people. And we see Republican status as the culmination of that struggle and the eventual attainment of what our African brothers wanted to do since 1763.
I want to invite our viewers, those of you who are listening to this program, the The Burnham Foundation, we have been kind of promoting programs like these over the past 2 years. That is, we have covered a number of areas under which Mr. Burnham and economic development, Burnham and religion, Burnham and culture, Burnham and youth. We have looked at all those things. Now, today we're looking at Burnham independence and Republican status achievement of the country. Further to that, we're also looking at the 90th birth anniversary activities that are planned by the foundation to observe Mr. Burnham's 90th birthday. And those activities, I want to invite Mr. Alexander to begin to talk about those, and at the same time to tell our viewers, you can call into this program, ask your questions, make your comments, make a contribution, whatever that may be, in relation to the topic under discussion. And those of you who, I know they have a lot of people who are very Burnhamite, they're very strong on things Burnham. Those of you who feel you need to say something as well, you can call into this program. But I want to ask you, Mr. Alexander, and for viewers and young people who need to experiment with the kind of gadgets, you can visit us at the Forbes Burnham Foundation at the website at lfsburnhamfoundation.org. Or you can go to Lyndon Forbes Sampson Burnham Facebook page. Now we have all of that, so you can be informed and know about those programs that have gone before and a few of our plans for the future. You will find those on Facebook as well as on our website. I want to turn our attention now to the program of activities you have planned to observe the 90th birth anniversary.
Indeed, Clayton, we are going to be celebrating the 90th birth anniversary of Lyndon Forbes Sampson Burnham, the founder leader of the People's National Congress, the first executive president of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, the one who took us independence and who took us Republican status. 90th birth anniversary, 20th of February. We are therefore going to have a period of activities to commemorate the life of this great man. And those activities are going to start next Sunday. Next Sunday, we'll be having a commemorative concert at the Theatre Guild. Last year we had one, and everyone thought it was a very, very good concert, and we're going to repeat that performance next Sunday at the Theatre Guild, where we have a commemorative concert. It will take the form of a variety concert, and the public at large are invited to attend that concert at the Theatre Guild. It's scheduled to start at 6 p.m. and we are seeking a donation of only $1,000. So the public at large are invited. You can come and you can get tickets at the door to that concert. Those of you who were there last year, share the word how well the concert was, and come on down to commemorate the life of Lyndon Forbes Sampson Burnham. We have traditionally, in every February for the last, I think it's 5 to 6 years now, been hosting a cycle race. And this is now on the agenda of the Guyana Cycling Federation. And so on the 10th of February this year, we're going to have that race. But because it's his 90th birthday, it's going to be a little more elaborate. The race has traditionally been a race from Carifester Avenue to Belfield, where Burnham lived, and back. This year, the race will be of 90 kilometers because we want to commemorate the 90th birth anniversary. And so the intention this year is on the 10th of February, in the morning, to have the cyclists go from Georgetown to Coverdon and back. And we're going to Coverdon because Coverdon is an important landmark, the place where we had the clay brick production, Van Siram and the clay brick factory, one of the things that Burnham did for this country. And so we're going to go to Georgetown, Coverdon and back. And then in the afternoon, we're going to go from Georgetown to Belfield and back. And we hope in that way to cover 90 kilometers to celebrate the life, commemorate the life of Lyndon Forbes Sampson Burnham. This is an annual cycle race, and we do this in collaboration with the Guyana Cycling Federation. We've been doing this for the last 5 years. We've had a very good turnout all of these years, and we look forward to a similar turnout this year as well. On the 15th of February, we continue those celebrations. On the 15th of February, we will have a symposium. This symposium will be held at the St. Stanislaus College, in the auditorium of that college. And at that symposium, we will be discussing the question of the relevance of Burnham's legacy to contemporary Guyana. We want to see how relevant the things that Burnham did and the legacy that he left us is to Guyana today. We know whether it's grow more food, whether it's free education, whether it's the cultural activities he used to have, Guy Fest, all those things are still very, very relevant. And we want to do an in-depth review of the relevance of his legacy to us in Guyana today, and we'll be using the symposium on February the 15th to have that discussion at the St. Stanislaus College Auditorium, and that's 5 p.m. in the afternoon. And again, like the concert, this symposium is open to the public at large.
I want to ask you, Vincent, the subject that is being discussed, the relevance of Burnham's legacy to contemporary Guyana, that is a very, very important subject. And I think young people need to find themselves in attendance at this special symposium, because I want to suspect that the information that will be garnered from attending this symposium would serve them well in their research work and other activities. Even older folks need to attend to listen to how relevant is this legacy that Burnham has left. What have you done to really encourage this attend? Of course, apart from this program, where people will hear that they can attend this thing on the 15th, what else?
Well, we will be having other programs during the course of the month leading up to the 15th that will serve for the purpose of inviting people to this symposium. We have in fact dispatched some invitations to people, but no one should feel that this is an invitational event. You have to have an invitation to come. It's a public event, and the public at large are invited. We will be having other television programs and other media exposures, inviting people to this activity on the 15th. As you said, Clayton, it's very important for young people to come to this forum to get an insight into a man who has laid the foundation for much of which they are benefiting from today, and laid the foundation for some of which they're not benefiting from because it has been eroded. And so it's critical for people to come out and to listen and to be able to rid themselves of some of the myths and some of the falsehoods which have been spread about Lyndon Fobbs Sampson Burnham. You know, there was a young man who once asked me the question, the Indo-Guyanese, asked me the question, if it was true that when one was in Burnham's presence, one had to genuflect, to bow to Burnham. I was shocked. I couldn't believe that any truthful Guyanese would say that to our young people, but it's apparently been said to our young people, trying to demonize Burnham to the point of saying that he saw himself as a deity, so you had to genuflect in his presence. Nothing of the sort. So that you need to come out to know a bit more about Lyndon Fobbs Sampson Burnham, to be demystified about the man who people would say was able to walk among the ordinary people, to deal and dwell with them. But at the same time, when necessary, he was the ultimate statesman who could deal with the people at that level as well. So the symposium is critical in this regard.
On the 15th? On
the 15th of February, 5 p.m. at St. Stanislaus.
I see also you have a conference planned for the...
Well, the Burnham Foundation is an organization that has a membership, and in keeping with the requirements of such organizations, is registered under the Friendly Society Act. We are supposed to have an annual conference where we account for the work of the organization, and that conference will be held on February the 16th. It's all a part of the celebrations in some regards. February the 16th at the Crystal Labour College, another place that Burnham made possible. Crystal Labour College is standing there because under the Burnham regime, land was bequeathed to the trade union movement for the establishment of the Crystal Labour College, another contribution of Burnham to nation building, to institutional building in this country. So the Crystal Labour College, on February the 16th, will be the conference. The conference is essentially for people who are members of the Burnham Foundation, But the Burnham Foundation is itself an open organization for anyone who wants to join because they want to know about the ideas of Lyndon Fobb Sampson Burnham, because they want to be a part of the movement that seeks to ensure the legacy of Burnham lives on. So if there's anyone out there who's desirous of being a member of the Burnham Foundation, here is the opportunity to come to that conference on February the 16th at 1 p.m. at the Critchlow Labour College. There you'll be able to hear about, know more about the activities of the Burnham Foundation, and to be able to become a member of that foundation. Forms will be available for membership on that occasion, so that this too, in some regards, is a public event for those people who would wish to come to join the Burnham Foundation and to hear more about the foundation.
Well, the last time we spoke about Burnham and religion, and part of your program of activities to observe the 90th birth anniversary also include a church service.
Oh, certainly. Last year, when we celebrated the 89th birth anniversary of Lyndon Fobb Sampson Burnham, we returned to the church that he belonged to, the church where he grew up, the church where his father was an elder. That is the Kitty Methodist Church, and it is our intention to do the same this year, that on the 17th of February, virtually the eve of his birth anniversary, to return to that church to commune as we celebrate and commemorate the life of Lyndon Fobb Sampson Burnham. And again, this is going to be a public activity. The public at large are invited to the church service at the Kitty Methodist Church at 7 a.m. on February the 17th. And that, in fact, is the culmination of our activities. We don't want to clash with the Mashramani activities. And Burnham is not Mashramani, Burnham is Burnham. And Mashramani is one of the good things that he made possible. And so we will culminate on the 17th, before we get into the heart of Mashramani, with the church service, where we will commune, where we will give thanks to the Maker for having enabled us to have in our midst a Lyndon Fobb Sampson Burnham, whose ideas are still relevant today, whose legacy we still benefit from today. All of those pensioners whose only source of income is NIS cannot help but remember Lyndon Fobb Sampson Burnham introduced NIS, something which, when he introduced, was vilified. There were those who called it SIN, sin, instead of NIS.
NIS, they had a term for it. They said new ideas to steal.
To steal. But today, they are the beneficiaries of this wonderful institution, which is threatened, and which we need to ensure lives on, because it means so much to the working people of Guyana.
Yeah, viewers, I want to invite you to make a call to this program and make a contribution, express your views. I want to also invite you to go to our Facebook page and the website at lfsburnhamfoundation.org, and you will be able to garner information as to the activities that have gone before, and also you would have an opportunity to see what programs and so on we have planned by the Burnham Foundation. I want to just go back a little bit, Vincent, on the question of Burnham and the Republican status achievement by the country. Now, just for the purpose of information of viewers, when the country became independent in 66, May the 26th, 1966, what is it that, in your view, that motivated or caused Lyndon Fobb Sampson Burnham and government to move in the direction of the acquiring of Republic? I see that our lines are going. Good morning, you're on the air.
Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning.
Yes.
I do like this program that you have, that shows up the fact that we had a good and great president. Burnham Foundation. My question is that only hearing it on radio, being a blind person, I'm unable to move around much. But I'm looking at your sustenance that this can go on for a very long time, because we know that the Burnham Foundation, as I see it, is doing so much to enlighten the Guyanese people of a great leader that we had, which should have been done through the Ministry of Education and also through the Ministry of Culture, who are the ones to really promote these things of our past heritage. How is it that you're able to maintain your the foundation through its financial, and where can financial help be sent to help that maintenance and the production of such of works that you are doing?
Okay, I would ask the chairman of the foundation to respond. Thank you very much.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you very much, contributor. We maintain the foundation through contributions. We have individuals who make contributions to this organization, as well as from time to time we have some fundraising activities. So for example, the concert, which is commemorative, is also fundraising.
Yes.
So when you come to the concert, you'll be making a contribution to the foundation so we can maintain our programs. For example, we have to pay to air this program, and so somebody has to pay the bill. So our fundraisers are also a way of raising funds, and the concert will be one fundraiser. In the month of May, I think we'll also be having a breakfast morning, which will be another fundraiser, so that people can make individual contributions, as well as we do have some fundraisers. How can you contact us? You can contact either the secretary, the chairman, or the vice chairperson. And the numbers you can contact us on are: the chairman can be contacted on 624-2057, 624-2057. The secretary on 656-9567, 656-9567, and the vice chairman on 610-8676, 610-8676. And I dare say that you can contact these persons in relation to acquisition of tickets for the concert as well. Tickets will be available at the door for the concert on the 3rd, but if you care to have in advance, you can contact any of the numbers I just mentioned: 624-2057, 656-9567, 610-8676. The Burnham Foundation is working towards establishing a permanent office, so people will have a physical place that they can go to. We hope by next year this time we'll be able to say to you where our permanent office is, because this organization is here to stay. It is here to keep generations to come aware of the work of Lyndon Fobbs, Sampson Burnham, someone who had been a forerunner to what generations to come will still benefit from.
And just to add, Vincent, you can also contact me, the host of this program, at 682-5462 if you need tickets for any of those programs that for our concert at the Theatre Guild. You can get your ticket. Don't forget, I have some on sale right now. If you want to call me when this program is over, 682-5462. It's right outside in the vehicle.
Clayton, I should also mention that in addition to these activities which we have announced, the Burnham Foundation will be co-sponsoring a symposium in New York as well. And that symposium is scheduled for the 18th of February at the Catherine School in Brooklyn, New York. So don't be worried that we're announcing New York activity in Georgetown. This program is normally also aired through YouTube, and so people in New York will be able to get the ad that on the 18th at the Catherine School in Brooklyn, the Burnham Foundation will be co-hosting with the New York group of the People's National Congress Reform a symposium, and that symposium will also be focusing on the legacy of Lyndon Fobbs Sampson Burnham, and someone from the organization here in Guyana will be in attendance and will be making a presentation at that activity as well.
I was saying, Vincent, when we gained political independence in '66, you know, I was a young man at that time, a little boy, you can see. But there was so much excitement that the country is now independent of Britain and so on, and we're now going to be able to do our own thing and so on. Then this idea, then suddenly 10 years after, 66 and 4 years after, we were able to gain Republican status. I was never too clear as a distinction, but now that you have outlined the difference as to why, I think that there are people still who just don't understand the difference between those things. But I was saying that having attained Republican status, you saw that as part of an enhancement to our independence.
Yes, it certainly is an enhancement of independence. It severed finally our links with the British. Guyana is the first country in the English-speaking Caribbean that established its own court of appeal and stopped going to the Privy Council. That was one of the things we did when we became a republic. We have seen in that regard other countries in the Caribbean seeking to follow, and the whole question of the CCJ, the Caribbean Court of Justice, is in the same vein of ensuring that in our region we are an independent people, that we sever the dependence on the British. And so Republican status really was getting rid of the last vestige of the colonizers, because they remained in the person of the Governor General. And the Governor General, though in some regards titular, was an attachment to the Queen. The Queen, we were still a part of the Commonwealth of England, put it that way. The Queen was in some regards still our head of state. Our Prime Minister was head of government. Head of state would have been the Queen and the Governor General. We now have our head of state, the President of this country. And so there's a personification of Guyana in Guyanese people, rather than a personification of Guyana in an alien queen and the Governor General representing that queen. And so, yes, Republican status is significant. It brought about the final severing of the vestiges of colonization from the standpoint of being able to determine our own destiny, being able to make our own decisions, being able to ensure there's no intervention in our internal affairs by alien people. And I gave the example earlier of the way in which, because Grenada was not a republic, that Sir Paul Scholes could have called on the British and on the Americans to intervene in the affairs of Grenada and to give legitimacy by virtue of his office. There is no such office now in Guyana. We are independent. We have to solve our own problems. And I think we have to see Guyana this way now. How do we, now that we are independent, now that we are a republic, able to rise to the call to solve our own problems without external imposition? And that's the challenge. It doesn't mean that we're an island unto ourselves. It doesn't mean that if we need assistance, that we can't call for assistance, but we call for it because we want it on our terms. We are no longer a colony. We're no longer subjects of anyone else. We no longer have sovereign, ultimate decision making being vested in a person. It's now vested in the people. Hence we can talk about our democracy, we can talk about our elections, we can talk about our judiciary, we can talk about our executive, but we need to understand these things and their real meaning. Because Republican status means the executive is just a representative of the people, and therefore should be responsible to the people, should be answerable to the people, and should not be an imposition on the people. Election means that if we are not satisfied that those representatives are doing what they're supposed to do, that they're representing our interests, that we replace them. We have a situation in the country today where a majority of the electorate said we have some problems with that, the former executive, and so they voted for another party. And we have to understand it in the context of representation, that all of the people in that parliament are representatives of the people of this country. It's not merely the executive. The executive are there to execute, but the representatives are there to make sure that the will of the people on a day-to-day basis is exercised in their interests.
You were making an interesting point in relation to the concept of local democracy being enshrined in the Constitution, which wasn't there in the pre-independence Constitution.
No, it was not in the pre-independence Constitution. In fact, it was not in the independence Constitution. That only came into being in 1980. The fact that in Guyana we have local government enshrined in our Constitution, the only Commonwealth country with such an enshrinement, means we recognize the sovereignty of the people and the need, and as far as is practical, to have the people not only involved in decision making, but have them on a larger scale involved in executing decisions. And that's what local government provides for the people themselves at the lower levels, at the community level, to be able to be involved in throwing up leadership and to be able to give leadership to a certain level of state activities in their community, not to have the central government do everything for them. Local government is not, in our circumstance, a creature of the central government. Local government is a creature of the people through their constitution. They, by virtue of their constitution, have said, we want local government. We want to be able to do some things for ourselves at the local level. I think we need to wake up and smell the roses in that regard, and not to see local government as some creature of the central executive.
Well, I think we have covered a number of areas. First of all, we looked at independence, Republican status, and we have given you an outline in relation to a program of activities by the Foundation to observe the 90th birth anniversary of Lyndon Forbes Sampson Burnham. And we have also attempted to, at the same time, inform you as to what those activities are. And we have, for your kind of benefit, those of you who are interested to become part of the Foundation and its work, and to know more about Lyndon Forbes Sampson Burnham, you can attend our conference that is scheduled for the 17th, I think it is, Vincent?
The conference is the 16th.
The conference
16th.
On the 16th.
16th.
Conference is the 16th at Critchlow Labour College.
Probably we should go through the entire list of activities as we close.
Yes, first on the 3rd of February we have a commemorative variety concert at the Theatre Guild. That starts at 6 o'clock in the evening. Then on February 10th, we have a 90-kilometer cycle race. This has been an annual event of the Foundation for the past 5 years. And that kind of race, the first leg will be from Georgetown to Corverden and back. And the second leg in the afternoon from Georgetown to Belfield, where Burnham lived, and back. Then on the 15th of February, very important for the entire public, if you want to attend, as many people as possible, a symposium at the St. Stanislaus College. The relevance of Burnham's legacy to contemporary Guyana. Very important subject, and those of you who want to know more about Burnham and what he did and how he did it, you need to attend that symposium. Then on the 16th is the conference, and on the 17th we go to his church, a church service at the Kitty Methodist Church. That, in essence, is the program of activity that we have planned for this year to observe the 90th birth anniversary of Lyndon Forbes Sampson Burnham.
Not to exclude that we also have an activity we co-sponsoring in New York with the People's National Congress Reform New York
Yes,
group,
the New York group.
where we have another symposium that looks at the legacy, and that's on the 18th,
On the 18th of February. You will be having a representative
The Foundation
to make a
will be represented
presentation.
making a presentation at that
Indeed.
symposium.
All right, we have been with you in your homes for quite a while. We have covered a lot, and I think those of you who are accustomed to this program, you can join me once again the 4th Sunday in February again, when we're going to bring to you again another program, the State of the Nation. And Vincent, before we close, I want you to make your final remarks. And today's program?
Well, we wouldn't have the opportunity before the Republic celebrations to greet our fellow Guyanese, so I think we need to take the opportunity now to greet them on the occasion of the Republican anniversary of our country. In fact, and to remind them that those celebrations are not just merely gyrations in the street. It's all about the Guyanese people attaining Republican status, all about the Guyanese people taking their destiny into their own hands. And we wish that they would spend a moment thinking about that, a moment thinking about how we as a people can go forward in this light, in the light of the Guyanese people taking their destinies into their own hands, because we are a republic. We are independent. Our sovereignty, our destiny is in our hands.
Talking about our celebration, I know our Chinese brothers and sisters, they too will be celebrating their New Year sometime soon, and you know they're all part of the Guyanese experience. And I want to take this opportunity as well to wish them the best on their New Year's activity, and trust that they will also be part of our celebration of Republican status. And to invite them too to attend the symposium at the Clayton Labor College and to be part of our variety concert. The symposium at St. Stanislaus College, and to be part of our variety concert at Theatre Guild come the 3rd of February. Tickets are available. The numbers were outlined to you. Vincent, I want you to call back those numbers that you can contact. You can contact me at 682-5462 if you need a ticket to attend the concert. The contribution is $1,000, and we want to fill that place. The last time we had it, people complained the concert was excellent and we charged too cheap, but we just asking for a contribution of $1,000 because that's the way we continue these programs.
You can also contact the chairman on 624-2057, 624-2057, the secretary on 656-9567, 656-9567, and the vice chairman on 610-8676. And we look forward to seeing you at the concert as we start our period of activities to commemorate the 90th birth anniversary of Lyndon Forbes Sampson Burnham, and the other activities that will follow on the concert.
I want to, at this time, thank you viewers for allowing me in your homes, your bedrooms. Possibly some people are still kind of lying down this Sunday morning, relaxing, looking at this program. I want to thank you for allowing me to be in your homes. And this is Clayton Hinds saying goodbye for now until the next 4th Sunday in February, when I bring to you another program, The State of the Nation. I thank you.